the title and the description of the project into the record? Cindy? Okay, maybe I'll just do it then.
Unmute, Cindy, unmute. Hit the microphone button on the left bottom of the screen. Unmute. I will unmute you.
How is that? Is that
Cindy.
better?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You ready for me to read into the record?
If you would, please.
1615 Main Street, site plan development, application number 0540-18, location southeasternmost lot of village, north side of Long Island Railroad Station and parking lot, tax map number, section 21, block 6, lots 7, 9.2, 9.3, and 15, zoning C2 Central Commercial District. The applicant, Port Jefferson Crossing, care of Conifer Real Estate Developers. Property owner, Port Jefferson Crossing, care of Conifer Real Estate Developers. Contact, Joanna Cuevas, Senior Project Director, care of Conifer Real Estate Developers. Description, proposed 3-story mixed-use building on 4 contiguous lots on the southeasternmost side of Main Street, adjacent to the Long Island Railroad Station parking lot. The parcel has 112 LF of frontage on Main Street and proposes 3,200 square feet of ground floor retail use and 45 apartment units, 37 one-bedroom and 8 two-bedroom on a 29,566.88 square foot parcel. 48 parking stalls for the residents and 1 loading space are proposed in a covered underground garage accessed from a proposed new road, Station Street, that will also provide ingress to the Long Island Railroad parking lot and will run one-way east and connect to Oakland Avenue. Public hearing was opened on July 9th, 2020 and adjourned to August 20th, 2020.
Thank you, Jen. I mean, I'm Cindy, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so moving forward, we'll hear from the applicant if they have anything to bring forward to us. But before we do that, I'd like to just read a few notes into the record, if you don't mind. And they are, the application is an as-of-right consistent with, is an as-of-right proposal, can't read my writing, consistent with the redevelopment outlined in the 2030 comprehensive plan for Uptown. The public hearing was requested by the planning board because of the project's importance to revitalization effort Uptown and the board's interest in hearing and considering public input. The public hearing was scheduled for July 9th and, as Cindy said, was held over for 1 month for a longer comment period. Referrals to many agencies have been made and the responses will be circulated to the planning board and will become part of the record. We have received comments from the public to date, and I'll ask Cindy to read the name, address, and date of the comments submitted since the last meeting to present. And the planning board, we can make a motion after Cindy's read everybody's information in to incorporate those letters into the record. And that's it. Cindy, do you want to read the, you know what, should we hear from the applicant first? You know what, if you don't mind, Cindy, if you'd read the names and addresses of the comments,
Sure.
now we can make a vote in there.
Okay. July 26th, 2020, comment received from Joe Lasso, 101 Lowell Place. July 26th, 2020, comment received from Renee Simo, 100 Burke Road. July 26th, 2020, comment received from Danny Gross. There was no address given. This was an email. July 26th, 2020, comment received from Brendan Duffy, resident of Port Jefferson, no street address. July 26th, 2020, comment received from Kristen Sinar, 246 Windward Drive. July 26th, 2020, comment from Darcel Weldon, no address. We have comment on July 27th, 2020 from a Blyton 44. Marianne Blyton, I'm sorry, Marianne Blyton from 801 Main Street. July 27th, 2020, we have a comment from Kelly Giuliano, no address. July 28th, 2020, comment from Connor Kaminska, 2 Deerfield Court. And comment on August 13th, 2020 from Shelley Zaltzman, 125 Oakwood Road. Those are all the comments I have right now.
Thank you, Cindy. I think for the purposes of this hearing, I'd ask for a motion to, incorporate all of these letters that have been received into the record.
I'll motion.
Thank you, Laura. Motion made by Laura. Anybody second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Barbara. All right, that being behind us, I would, just for the record, also note that.
Real quick,
all
you
the-
need a vote. You need a vote.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on a
There you
second.
go.
I just need
That
a quick
hand up thing. Sorry about that. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Would
Thank
you like these letters all labeled exhibit as an
Yes,
exhibit?
please. Yes, please. That would be good. Just for the public listening in or watching, we have received all of the comments and read them. So just for expediency, we felt it was prudent to not read them in each one into the record, but they are part of the public record now. That being said, are the representatives of the applicant here, and would they like to into the board?
Yes, Gil, we have the applicant raising hands. We'll bring them into the meeting. Would you like them put into the meeting?
Please, yes.
Okay, stand by.
I like the bird sounds.
I didn't think you could hear them. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
My little screen didn't light up, so I didn't think you could hear them.
It's very relaxing. It's calming, it's.
Hi, Joanna, it's Kevin. Is there anybody from your team that should be also brought into this
Yes.
meeting?
Yes, please. We have Kenneth Garvin from Beatty Harvey Coco, who is the project architect.
He's coming in.
Okay. We also have Gwen O'Shea, who is our development partner.
I don't see Gwen. It's Gwen. Oh, now I do.
Okay.
Coming in.
And we have Kathleen D. Dixon, who is our legal representative for the project.
Fantastic. Coming in.
Is,
So, Bill,
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I also missed Mark Owen, who is the civil engineer.
Perfect.
They always miss the civil engineer,
Right.
Can I have the spelling of Mark's last name, please?
It's Owen.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for coming. Do you have anything you want to present or put before the board before we start the public hearing?
Hi, good evening. My name is Kathleen Deegan-Dixon. I'm a partner in the law firm of Fricelli Deegan-Tirana, 333 Earl Livington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York, here on behalf of the applicant. I think our last appearance before the board, we pretty much explained the project. I think you pretty much have a good understanding of what it is that we're proposing. I would say the vast majority of the comments received and entered into the record by the public are aesthetic in nature. And we do have Ken from the architecture firm to to address any specific concerns. There was one question about gentrification of the area, and I just wanted to remind both the board and the public that this is a 100% affordable project. So, you know, I think the risk of gentrification is certainly reduced. While it will beautify this end of town, I don't think it'll have the feared result of gentrification. We would like to address the question of the parkland fee that Chairman Anderson brought up in your pre-meeting. I don't know if you want us to do it now or you want to hear from our architect first. And then we also would like to hear your thoughts on the pileup and have an opportunity to address that as well.
I think for right now, why don't we ask Kenneth to speak about the architecture, and then we'll come back to the pileup and the parkland fee question, if you're okay with that.
Very good.
I need to access my other computer for the images. I'm going to raise my hand on that computer. If someone from IT could help with that.
I see you. I'm bringing you in now.
Thank you. All right. Okay. I think I'm just going to put up the renderings, the latest renderings that the ARC commented on, and we could talk a little bit more about that. All right. Share my screen. All right, there you go. Well, let's see something. Okay. All right. So the image. Do I have to get sworn in or anything?
No, for the purposes of this, we don't have to get sworn in.
Okay. This image here is the latest renderings that we sent over to the ARC to look at, and the a lot of comments were regarding colors and the use of materials and the moldings, but I believe for the most part the massing of the building that's following your zoning code is pretty much okay. The one comment that we heard multiple times was about balconies. So recently we added balconies to the tower. So it would look something like this, as you can see. This would be like Juliet balconies. They extend from the building like 6 inches. It's really not for a person to stand out on, but it's an aesthetic that is seen a lot in villages near the water. The balcony railing would be white. The I don't know if this is gonna work. Sorry.
That's okay.
And we feel that it would make that corner a little more interesting than just having the windows like it had in the past. So that's one thing that we changed. We also, with the comments from the planning board, we were able to change the south elevation with the color. We made it more of a taupey color, and we added those window bays in there. I'm just trying to get these bays that actually pop out and would give the building a little more character. That end of the building, which was before that pretty much just a straight flat wall. Now the ARC commented that possibly this tan brick could match the red brick. I don't feel that's a big issue at all to do. We could definitely do that. And we stepped the facade as well. So you have a section here, and then it steps in, then you have another section, and then it steps back out. That also is helping create an interest to the south elevation rather than that long wall. The other thing is, from the comments of the ARC and from the public, they were looking to do more extravagant detailing to the facades, something you would see maybe with a 4-story building, or a lot of the images they showed had like balconies that are really sticking out far. And we got to remember, we only have an 8-foot sidewalk here. So we have to be careful what we do with the restrictions of the site. The materials, again, it's mostly like a clapboard design, which is in keeping with the New England style of architecture. Typically, village buildings would have a clapboard with moldings. We have a nice cornice going on up at the roof level. We're using brick and cast stone at the lower level to just have a nice transition for the public. And, integration of the landscape, the streetscape, the street trees, the planters that we're doing, the benches, the street lighting. It's all kind of what I believe is the intent of the village's plan for 2030. And in keeping with the height restrictions, this application that we have here, we feel that this proposal it works very well for the location. And in the future, hopefully the rest of the neighborhood would also develop to something of this character or similar. I read the comments about this is the gateway, you get off the train, but the train station itself was redone recently and very nicely with the sculptures, with the paving, the pavers, landscaping. I think, that, and then this behind it is going to be a great way to welcome visitors to the village. But for the most part, I feel that the comments from the ARC were, a lot of it we can actually probably address, like the changing of the brick, maybe changing some colors. The comments in the latter part of their requests are going to be difficult to do. They really shift the building in on the south elevation because of our parking underneath. But other than that, I think we could probably work to come up with a great solution. I don't know if there's a way that the board could, think about that and have a conditional approval for this development, and where we would meet with the board and find the right color scheme and the right materials for the development.
I guess you're asking a question here, and you're finished with your presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, just because I don't want to interrupt you, that's all.
I'm sorry, I feel that I'm done right now with my presentation. The civil engineer is on. He may be able to speak to a couple of items that you spoke about earlier, about the fencing and around the dumpster. And I think there was a couple other things that you were looking for.
Yeah, there is some outstanding items that are the villages and, waiting for from your application. What I could offer, what we could offer is to two representatives from the planning board, and then, obviously Jen Ziegler from the village, meet with representatives, yourself and the civil engineer to kind of go through the comments that were received and work out, it sounds like you're willing to address, the comments of the Architectural Review Committee, obviously within reason. And that seems pretty fair to us. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn for the board, but I think, if we could schedule something for next week with 2 of our members and then again, Jen Ziegler, we can kind of, hash through this and maybe resolve the exterior aesthetics and, keep this thing moving forward. I'm sorry. I don't know if anybody else on the board has anything they'd like to mention or.
I,
If you wouldn't
Can I
mind,
jump in?
stop sharing so everybody can see each other.
All right. All right. So I got to stop sharing. I'm sorry.
Usually the bottom of the screen where it says share screen, hit the up arrow to the right of the word share screen.
All right. Let me just get out
Laura,
of
you
it.
can also continue with what you were going to say while he's doing that.
well, it was kind of for him. I don't want him to be. I just want to make sure, I guess. So I just want to make sure that these renderings aren't the final. We've looked at the ARC and this is what we're proposing. This is still a work in progress.
I'll respond to that. Yeah, we did in this rendering, for example, add the Juliet balconies to present an option in response to the comments. But as Kenneth said, we are willing to meet with members of the board, to discuss any other comments that you would like to see addressed or have reviewed.
Okay, that would be definitely, because I know personally still not satisfied with the renderings we just were shown. And I think our ARC did a fabulous job. I would just like to actually be able to sit down and physically see some of the things and discuss them. Like you said, you have the basement to consider as well. So it would be great if we could get together.
We can arrange that. Not a problem.
Sure.
So we'll set that up for some time next week. Jen Ziegler can work with us and yourselves, and we'll get that set up. Thank you.
If I could real quick, I know we had a few items on the plans themselves. I'm going to try and share my screen here real quick. Just bear with me. I don't know that I've done this before, but
So Mark, you would open the document first, then you'd hit the green button that says share screen and then choose that document.
oh, I got you. Okay.
And if we have the document in-house, I can also share it.
Okay, well, it would be sheet SP2 on the site plan set. I did open the document, but I'm not seeing it on the share screen.
And Sigler, can you comment on that?
Yeah, I'm looking.
I have Station Street designs 1 through 10, and I have 8 other documents.
It's in the 8 other documents, and I think it's latest site plan.
Okay, stand by.
I want to look at that list of drawings that you gave me.
Mark, is this it?
Yeah, so I believe it's the 2 sheets down from that, SP 2.0. Yeah, the next sheet. There you go. So the refuse enclosure, we did specify, I had spoken to the gentleman that Jen had given me the number for, I forget his name at the moment, but he had given me the model and the exact color and specs for the enclosure that he had used at the two other sites near our property. I don't know that I had sent you over the manufacturer's website or spec, but the Illusions vinyl fence V300 was the enclosure that he had used on those two other properties. He said that he had used a black fence, although it does come in many other colors. So that's something that could be discussed if you think another color would be more appropriate. But I will forward you the manufacturer's website, and if they have a specification sheet for that V300 fence, I'll forward that to you as well. But that, just to let you know, that is the fence that was given to me by the gentleman that Jen had given me the contact info for. As far as the street trees go, we had spoken with Bob Brown, and he had sort of indicated that as far as like species go, that's really going to have to be dictated to us. We don't really know what was used on other areas that you're trying to conform with. So that's a discussion that we, I guess, can have it if we want to set up our meeting for next week. I can certainly attend that, and that's something we can discuss. So we'll need some direction on that as far as specifying species. I don't know, was there anything else on the site plan themselves that you guys had mentioned?
Yeah, did you address the lights on the north end of the building?
Ken, were we still looking at different models for these lighting along the building?
Yeah, we will add lighting to the north side that'll be probably hung on the building, shining down onto the lower roof. The fixture, we have to specify it, but we want to find one that's not going to be creating too much glare, and we want to have the lights come straight down onto the property line and not out. So it would probably be a dark sky compliant, a shielded fixture. But we definitely want to add lighting to that north area because of it's not developed right now, and we have a feeling that it could be a security issue.
Yeah. And then I was speaking with Jen Sigler earlier. You guys have to redo the retaining wall.
Well, Jen met with myself and Bob Brown on Tuesday morning. Bob had pointed out an issue on the north side of Station Street, not necessarily along our property line, but extending eastbound from the corner of our property. The proposed elevations along Station Street are approximately 3 feet above where the existing parking lot is, the village's parking lot on the north side of Station Street. So what Bob had suggested is that the applicant provide a proposal to the village to construct a short 3-foot wall, which is consistent with the architectural appearance of the wall that we'll be constructing on our own property line, as they'll both be visible from the parking lot. And then in doing so, maybe receive a credit towards whatever fees were being applied in the legal agreement. So I did speak with the applicant yesterday about that. I'm putting together a plan which I can provide to the village. It'll just be supplemental. It won't be part of our site plan set. But then we will put some sort of thought into what it may cost to extend a wall down east on the north side of Station Street in order to address that issue that we spoke about. So as soon as we finish putting together a plan, we just discussed this yesterday morning, but when we finish putting together a plan with the detail of the wall, we'll send that out to everybody so you guys can look at that.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
All right. The only question I have actually, I guess for Ken real quick is, at the last meeting, a question was raised or an issue was raised that with the garage below the building and securing that garage, is there any consideration being made to actually, garage doors rather than some, another type of barrier that would allow unwanted folks to get in there? I think the concern again is security of the patrons in the building, and I don't know how to put this nicely, but you know, we
Right.
want to make sure they're protected, and there's concern without the garage doors, there'll be easy access for those who are unwanted.
Yeah. The developer is looking into it security wise. I did specify a roll down gate, which you can see through. A person cannot walk through it.
Right.
But it's right now it's being reviewed by their department, their security people. We're going to have cameras, I'm sure, and well, it's going to be well lit. But I understand what you're saying, and the client is looking into it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I'll second that comment and say that we are looking at options for gates that would work with the space.
Okay.
I don't think we have a specification yet, but we are looking for something to accommodate.
Great, thank you.
Just to let you know, the hills at Port Jefferson, excuse me, on the west side of Main Street, they do have gates in their parking garage, and it's a specialty gate that comes down at a faster rate. So to add a little protection so somebody doesn't sneak in behind whoever goes in the vehicle. So it's the Jito group. So you might want to reach out and find out what kind of gate that is. But Tony did tell me that it was super fast, so to speak, to keep out unwanted people.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. Thank you.
Probably the same guy you're getting the information about the garbage enclosure from. We'll get to that too. Yeah. So, all right, thank you. I guess we can speak about the parkland and the pileup issues now, or we could let the public speak. I don't know how many people are out there, but it might be.
Bill, you want to ask when the public, when you like them to speak, just ask them to raise their hand.
Oh, okay.
When you're
Okay.
ready.
All right. Well, why don't Kathleen, let's discuss the parkland fees and the pileup quickly, and then we'll open up the floor to the public to speak.
Okay, good, thank you. So we understand that it's up to the board to make a recommendation on the imposition of the parkland fees. As I mentioned earlier, because we're an affordable housing development, our budget is pretty rigid, and it needs to be approved by the state, and this is an unanticipated budget item. While I understand that the park nearby is not a very big park at Texaco Park, and that the park over on Highland is not yet developed, I think a lot of the improvements that are being made to Station Street are not only in mitigation of the traffic that might be increased in that area, but I think they're also part of it's going to be beautiful. It'll be walkable. There'll be street trees. There'll be benches. It will add a little bit of a recreational component, in that people will be able to linger and enjoy this new space. We would appreciate consideration of a complete waiver of the parkland fee. If that's not possible, we would appreciate some consideration on a recommendation of a reduction. Just because we really would like to put our resources into the building and making this the high quality development that Conifer is expected to do, and that Conifer does at all of their other locations. So that's our pitch, and I hope that you would understand and make the appropriate recommendation.
Thank you. Any comments?
Mr. Chairman, if I may for just one
Sure,
moment.
of course.
Just a point of clarification. The procedure that's before the planning board this evening, the planning board doesn't have the authority to waive or reduce the fee. The planning board is charged in the code with determining whether or not there's adequate facilities in the area and whether or not a fee is justified. The waiver or a reduction of the actual dollar amount would take place at the Board of Trustees upon the finding of the planning board that there is a need for additional parkland facilities. So it is a two-step process. So step one here is whether or not additional parkland facilities are necessary in the opinion of the planning board. In that event that they are determined, yes, that they are necessary, then the applicant for a request for a waiver or reduction of the actual dollar amount or consideration for that would be handled at the Board of Trustees level.
Understood.
Thank you, Allison.
Can I make a comment?
Of course, please.
I'm a little loath to, I don't think Station Street really adequately addresses recreation for how many, there's 37 one bedrooms and 8 2 bedrooms. So that's at least, I mean, it could be up to 100 people additionally. We did require this of the other development. They didn't end up paying, they ended up using their own money to fix up the park that's at Texaco. And for this development to want to access Texaco, you have to cross the major road to get over there. Meanwhile, the Highland Park would be much closer, much more accessible for these, for the individuals that come into this building. And, you know, while you are doing a very great service and providing housing that's affordable to people on Long Island, we can't consider this development just as you owning it, because it could be owned by anyone down the road and not always be an affordable housing complex. So to not have any kind of a recreation or parkland, I just think it's shortchanging the whole project.
Thank you, Laura. Anybody else on the
Yeah,
board?
I have a question. Isn't Jefferson Crossing dedicating some street trees and grass area right in front of the, adjoining the railroad station? Can we consider that? If there's benches and we have parklands that are just passive, and can planning board consider that donation of property as part of their parkland?
Parkland fee. If I may, I would argue twofold. One, I think we definitely need more parkland up in that area. Hopefully the rest of it's going to be developed as this is being developed. It's a great project, I think, moving forward. But again, I think as a planning board, our only requirement is to either say, yeah, the village board of trustees should consider this, or no, there's no reason to. I think I think this is something that should be brought before the Board of Trustees and let them determine, what's the best way to move forward, whether it's a reduced fee, however the board wants to. But I think there is parkland needed up there. If it develops in the same concentration as it's being developed under this project, we're going to want some additional parkland. The land on this particular site, the road is needed for the building to get access, whether it's for the fire department or the residents. But there isn't any additional land that they can just say, okay, here, we're going to give this as parkland. So at some point, we're going to want to develop some additional parkland, which hopefully they'll be able to provide some fees. I don't think the village is looking to gouge anybody, but I think it needs to be brought before the Board of Trustees, who are probably more aware of the finer issues in this whole development.
All right, thanks.
Kathleen, you also wanted to discuss the pileup.
You had raised it during the pre-meeting, so I didn't know if there was something for us to discuss tonight.
No, it's just at some point tonight, I was hoping we could discuss the pileup, and and as a board, approve the use of the pileup rather than, the parking spaces for the commercial area within your building.
Yeah, we certainly would encourage the board to grant the relief that we need on parking. We believe that there is adequate parking in the area and that it's warranted. Again, when talking about additional fees for the project, this is something else that's put into the mix, and if any consideration can be given to a reduction or elimination of the fee, would always be appreciated.
Very well, thank you.
Again-
Any other comments from the board or Allison?
And again, the reduction in consideration of the fee would happen at the Board of Trustees. The planning board simply has the authority to determine whether or not this is an appropriate location to utilize pileup.
Thank you.
Which we would encourage the board to find. Thank you.
Fair enough. Point made. All right, anybody else from the board have any comments or questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none then, Kevin, I would ask those who are watching and want to provide a comment for the hearing to raise their hand so Kevin can let you in, and then Kevin will introduce you, I believe.
Yes, I could ask for that introduction. So far, no hands are raised.
Wow, okay.
No hands are raised. And no texts have been sent through either. I have Andrew Thomas raising his hand. I'll bring him in.
Very good, thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi. I just wanted to, it sounds as if there's perhaps a discussion around, I'm sorry, I'm a member of the ARC and also of the public. I was going to let our comments speak for themselves, and I think that's a good thing to do in this case. It sounds as if there's going to be a conversation afterwards, but I wanted to tune in case there were any questions regarding that now, and just say thank the architects for their hard work and look forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks.
Again, this is a public hearing. We're just taking information for future use. Thank you, Andrew, for that. Anybody else would like to step forward? This is the time.
Bill, let me check YouTube as well. Stand by.
Okay.
No other hands are raised. No other texts have come in. You're clear.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Seeing no other, nobody else wants to speak, I think at this point we've provided sufficient time for everybody to provide comments. We've had 2 hearings, and given these COVID times and the unusual practice of having to use Zooms, although it's not unusual anymore, meetings like this, I would make a recommendation to close the hearing, or recommend, if you guys all think so. If you agree, I would ask for a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make the motion to close the hearing.
Thank you, Barbara.
I'll second.
Thank you, Laura. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The hearing is closed. Thank you, everybody. So moving forward, I think I would like to, at least if we could get the parkland fee and the pileup issue off the table, I think it would be, it would at least be beneficial.
I would like to make a comment about the pileup.
Sure.
I would like to see relief for them, because over the past few years, the village actively took parking spaces away from Uptown. And having a business up there, for more than some people's age, my dad was there in 1939, and he bought the building that we saw Port Jeff Army Navy in 1958. and I was literally there since that time. I can tell you how many spaces were next to the building, 30, and now it's so greatly reduced. And the path that parking lot in the reverse flow that the village put in, if you couldn't find a parking space next to that building, you were forced to leave the village, because that's how the drive was, went into the flow of traffic. You had to go over the train tracks. And I tell you, as a business owner, once you leave, you rarely come back. So that happened. The parking in the back was greatly reduced because a lot of it was dedicated to the hills of Port Jefferson. If you go through that parking lot, you'll see painted on the ground, reserved for the hills, reserved for the hills. And then also the east side of Main Street, there were 7 parking spaces, and those are all gone just to make the traffic flow easier. So where, I guess, 4 years ago, there would have been adequate parking, the village took an actively removed parking spaces. So I would like to see that waived.
So from a code perspective, the planning board has the authority to determine whether or not pileup would be appropriate in this instance, or whether those parking spaces have to be provided or getting a variance. So the actual request for waiving of the pileup fee would take place after the planning board makes a determination that pileup is appropriate in this application. And then the applicant would go to the Board of Trustees to make a request for a waiver of the fee or reduction of the fee. So what's here today is whether or not pileup, due to existing parking in other portions of the uptown and availability, that is what's here for the planning board to determine. Once this is done, then phase 2 for waiver or exemption, essentially an exemption, would be at the Board of Trustees.
Okay, so I can actually make the argument that we shouldn't be looking just at Main Street or that parking lot on the west side of Main Street, but also Walnut Street, Elm Street, Perry Street. You know, there is a lot of parking there to utilize. Yeah, so my feeling is, how many parking spaces are they actually missing?
Jen, do you have that information? Or?
I do. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
I think it was around 11 or 12, but if you'll give me a moment. Staff report. 11 spaces are required for the retail use.
Okay, so so you have the retail for retail. You have parking on Perry, Walnut, Oakland. Can you park on Oakland? No, you can't park on Oakland, but you can park on Elm. And then you have the spaces on the west side of Main Street. And then further north, there's still parking. There's still parking on in front of Tara Inn. So those spaces are available.
Right. But I think what's before us, if I understood Allison correctly, is we're either making a determination that the applicant has to physically provide spaces specifically for those commercial facilities, or we recommend that they go before the village Board of Trustees to either ask for a waiver or come to negotiate some kind of fee. Is that, am I right on that?
That's correct. And clearly at this point of the design, I think we're pretty comfortable with those 11 spaces cannot be accommodated on the current site. So that's why it's really just a recommendation. And frankly, you don't need to do a vote on that tonight. That can just simply, the pileup can simply be part of the resolution.
Okay.
At the end of this process. But having this discussion, and certainly with the excellent input from Barbara, this is the discussion that leads to the information that gets put in the resolution.
Okay. All right. So then, having heard Barbara and I guess discuss this amongst ourselves, we can move on to the parkland fee? Or are you guys comfortable with that, or do you want to, I mean,
You know, I am, but a little thing came up on the bottom of my screen that Bruce Miller wants to be heard. And if it's about the parking, maybe that he should have a say right now.
You would have to reopen the public hearing. The public hearing was just closed by vote of the board a few moments ago.
Okay,
So the
so,
public comment portion of the hearing has come to a close.
okay. So on the park, I'll just say this, that I've always been in favor of a Highland Park and being a passive, you know, just something that people can walk through. But I don't feel that the whole weight of that park should be on Port Jefferson crossings.
agreed? Yeah, I agree.
And I just
That
want to
said,
point
though-
out,
Okay, sorry, but that said though, Barbara, do they have any responsibility for it at all?
yes, but not the whole thing. And then
Right,
I just
that's
want to
really-
mention,
Yeah, that's not
Right.
our, we just need to, we need to determine if they need to provide more parkland. And then I think then the village board of trustees would then determine how much they should contribute.
okay,
But I hear you, Barbara.
yeah.
In no way are we asking them to pay for the entire, it's not our purview to say, but as a village resident, I would not be asking my board of trustees to require this one project to pay for that entire park. But I think that they have some sort of responsibility to their residents and to us as a village to chip in some way to the community that they're joining.
Right, and that,
My 2 cents.
and I think that would be the responsibility of the Board of Trustees to determine what that level of, you know, help would be, whether it's compensation or, you know, I mean, the property on the other side bought the Texaco site and they developed it. So, you know, in the future, that may be something that's, you know, that they want to do. But I think what's before us right now with the parkland fee is, do we bring that to the Board of Trustees or do we not? And I think I'm hearing the three of us are all saying, yes, we think it should move forward to the Board of Trustees.
Well, okay, let's review again what we were talking about, the street features. There are going to be benches and plantings.
Right.
If people want to actually get away from traffic, they would have to go across the street to Texaco. Is that what we're saying?
Or there has to be another, I think there has to be another site found on the east side to provide either, you know, active recreation or passive recreation. And you do have that one site across Oakland, but I think, you know, you need, my own opinion is you'll need something in the immediate vicinity of the area between Oakland and Main Street. And, you know, so I think that, again, I think that's something that we turn over to the Board of Trustees and say, okay, guys, you got to work this out, you know, and to what extent do you want them to contribute? You know?
Yeah, perhaps a couple of appurtenances on a 6-acre site that, you know, the village already owns, you know, that might be enough. So, but it's certainly got to be something that's going to be agreeable to the people at the Highlands where that, but, you know, some benches, perhaps a dog park or something like that might be something that the village board might want to look at.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Bruce. All right, so then I'll make, well, does anybody want to make a motion to,
I'll motion that we require some parkland and we send it to the Board of Trustees. Allison, I'm not sure if that's the wording that's needed.
Again, no motion is required at this exact moment. That'll all be part of the final resolution. But the discussion that was had now is now the record upon which you can base that determination in your resolution. That said, I'd say to the applicant, I think you see there's a consensus there. Just because we don't have a final resolution doesn't mean that you can't be reaching out to the Board of Trustees to get the second portion of your request rolling.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I guess, Jen, you'll work with, well, let me speak to the board here. I was hoping Tom would be here. I think his input would be valuable, but I guess he couldn't make it tonight, Tom Volpus. And, but I think it would be worthwhile, Jen, if you can work with us to pick 2 members to meet with yourself and Conifer and their, professionals. To
Not
go
a problem
through.
at all.
Okay, cool.
We'll get that going next week.
All right, awesome.
Okay.
I don't see anything. We've closed the hearing, so I think unless somebody else has something, on the board to say, or any comments or questions.
I just want to say thank you so much to the applicant for being so flexible and listening to us. I don't want to come across as negative in any way. I think this is going to be such a valuable addition to our village, and I really appreciate all the time that you've taken. And I know we can work out something that's going to make all of our residents really, really happy. And so thank you for all of your time.
All right, I would second that. Barbara, I don't know if you have anything you want to add, or?
No, actually, unless you want long lectures about the history of Uptown, but
I'm good. That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people say, I've sat on a lot of committees over the time. Vision 2010, which started in 2000, and the master plan in 2030. We talked quite a bit about connecting Uptown with downtown. And, that 1 mile strip of residence in between the two, C1 and C2 was very hard to overcome, where we got to the point where, well, Uptown really has its own identity, and its identity is really tied in with the railroad rather than the harbor. And when you think about it, Uptown between North Country Road and the railroad tracks wasn't part of Port Jefferson until 1963, when the village incorporated, which explains why the 2 separate school districts. The village kind of kidnapped Uptown because they needed more land. And, when I owned the store, I used to say they kidnapped us, but, it was something my father fought for. When you look at it in that light, there really is nothing wrong from my point of view that Uptown is connected with the railroad and really doesn't have to be incorporated into the harbor. But there are a lot of people who have very fond feelings about the harbor. So that was just my one opinion.
Well, thank you. It's a good one. I just want to echo, what everybody said. I think this is an awesome project. I look forward to making this happen. The reason I got involved, I've been a resident, certainly not as long as Barbara, but since '79. So I've been waiting a long time to see improvements come into this area, and I think you have a great project. And I'm looking forward to working with you and bringing this whole thing to fruition. So thank you, Conifer, and all your professionals. I'm going for 3 here. Do we need to vote to close the hearing? I've only been doing this for how many years?
You already closed the hearing.
What's that?
You already closed the hearing.
Not the hearing, the meeting. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to close the meeting?
I'll close the meeting.
There we go. Second.
I'll second.
There you go. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Everybody have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, everyone.